Hello, everybody. It's Zoe here. Welcome to another live Q&A. I'm particularly excited about this one because it's been a month. Actually, I think not quite a month since we had the last one. So it's going to be great to see you all, to have a chat with you all, and to discuss. The first thing is our June Focus Challenge, which is looking at mindfulness. And the second thing is really to dig into cravings. So if you've had any problems with cravings, if you have any comments, questions, pop them in the comment section and I'll get to them as we go through. If you're watching the recording as per usual, please skip forward a few minutes and I'll just let everybody get the notification and log on and find the feed. So first things first, I wanted to introduce, we've got lots of new members this month, which is really exciting, who have joined us for the June Focus Challenge. So a big welcome to all of you. It's lovely to have you here. I think we have about 5 or 6 new members this week. So if you haven't already, just pop into the Facebook group, have a look at the post where I've welcomed those new members, say hi, introduce yourselves. You guys are a friendly bunch, so I'm sure you'll have no problems whatsoever doing that. So if you're here as well, just click and type in, say hi. Sometimes it tells me who's here, sometimes it doesn't. It must have to do with the settings, I think. So if you are here, please just log on in, type a comment, say hello, let me know. And if there's any questions that you want answered, not related to mindfulness or cravings or the focus challenge, please feel free to ask them as well. So big welcome to our new members. Lovely to have you. So I just wanted to touch base on the June Focus Challenge. I will do one of these every 3 months where we kind of really dig in and have a look at one particular area. So we have been doing for quite a while our weekly challenges, and that will still happen within the Focus Challenge. However, all of the mini challenges that you get the choice of each week that I put up each week have the focus of being sort of around mindfulness and how to kind of make that work for you post surgery. So if you haven't already, there's a video that I did at the beginning of the week looking at the sort of explaining the June Focus Challenge. So please jump on and have a look at that video. Also, you will see the weekly challenge post for this week, which has a big target on it. And you had the choice to have a look at making sure that you ask, am I hungry before eating? Keeping your hunger between a 3 and 7 out of 10, eating without distractions, taking 20 to 30 minutes per meal, eating one mouthful per minute, and keeping a food and feelings diary. So I know Nicole and Rick, who are both new members, they really wanted to focus on the am I hungry, because head hunger is a thing for them. And actually Beck was doing the same too. And Jenny had some great suggestions in there. Jacinta said she wanted to focus on whether she was hungry as well. So pop on in there, have a look, put down what you want to focus on. There will be new choices tomorrow. I'll put them in the group and you'll get an email about that as well. The new choices, some of them will be the same as what are on this week, and I will leave, I think, am I hungry, because that seems to be a really popular one. Others will be new, so keep an eye on them as well. Karen's here. Hey, Karen. Hi. Nice to see you. If you have just logged in, say hi. Sometimes Facebook lets me see who you are, but sometimes it really doesn't. So I haven't figured out exactly what the rhyme or reason behind that is. So if you are here, just comment and say hi, and I will get to saying hi back in a minute. So cravings. I get asked this question a lot, which was why I wanted to put this on as one of the Q&A topics. It's a really, really common one, and I think particularly long term after surgery, everyone's a little bit surprised if they do start craving food that perhaps they particularly used to crave before surgery, and I think that's because initially after the surgery, what happens is with the type of surgery with the sleeve, we're removing a big portion of the stomach that is usually responsible for the production of your hunger hormone ghrelin. It's why a lot of people after their surgery don't feel so hungry and don't have those intense cravings for food. However, long term after surgery, sometimes those old habits can kind of creep back in. Sometimes people can feel a little bit like perhaps they might be eating for head hunger rather than stomach hunger, or that their actual appetite does start to increase. So that initial reduction in ghrelin and straight after the surgery does tend to increase a little bit long term. So Kelly is also going to ask if she's hungry because it's all mind games. And what I'm going to tell you now kind of relates to that as well, because often people will say that cravings are due to a nutritional deficiency like magnesium or zinc or iron. There's really not a lot of research to suggest that that is the case. And I think sometimes we get trapped into thinking, oh, well, I need I overate some salty snacks, so I must need something. And it can be used as a justification. Now, interesting, that's probably a bad example because people who are deficient in sodium do actually crave salt. That has been shown in the literature. However, most of us eat way too much salt on an everyday basis anyway, and it's very, very difficult to be deficient in sodium. So that one isn't really often something that we need to be too concerned with. So what are likely causes for cravings? I think we can break them down into physical, psychological, and social reasons why we want to eat food. One, if we look at the physical and what you can do every day to reduce sort of the physical cravings, it could be insufficient protein or fiber. And what that means is that you're often more likely to get hungry sooner because you have eaten a meal beforehand that wasn't very high in protein, wasn't very high in fiber, so it just didn't stick with you for very long. There's also a really interesting work around a thing called the protein hypothesis, which says that if you don't eat enough protein, your body will keep pushing you that drive to eat food until you get to a set amount of protein, and that protein amount is around the RDI. So when we're looking after surgery, it's that 60 to 80 grams of protein. Now, what happens while your body is pushing you to eat that protein is that if you're choosing foods that are low in protein, you're going to get an increased drive to eat more food until you can get to that protein amount. So, some research came out of Sydney Uni about 10 years ago now was saying, well, let's have a look and see what happens when people eat a higher protein diet first thing in the morning. So, a higher protein breakfast. And essentially, a higher protein breakfast meant that they had reduced appetite throughout the rest of the day. And this was thought to be caused by the protein hypothesis, which meant that because they were eating a higher amount of protein in the morning, they were more likely to reach that target, and then the gut hormones settle down. So that ghrelin settles down and you get an increase in satiety. So that could be something. So please have a look at what you're eating every day. Has the quality of your diet gone down a little bit? Are you not getting enough protein, not enough fiber? So are you having your eggs, meat, dairy, chicken, fish, legumes, lentils, beans? Are you having whole grain, sort of high fiber carbohydrates rather than more processed food, which tends to go through quite quickly and not fill us up? And particularly at breakfast, are you just having a piece of toast with honey? Because maybe you should have, say, a piece of toast with egg and avocado, or a piece of toast with even peanut butter and a bit of honey to get a little bit more protein in early in the day. Um, Now, that could be a physical reason. There's a few other physical reasons like insufficient sleep. We know that we crave sugary foods, we crave high carbohydrate foods when we haven't had enough sleep. So, my little girl has a cold. She woke up lots last night. I definitely felt like today I needed to go for those high carbohydrate, sugary foods just for a hit of energy throughout the day. That didn't really help though, all right? So, definitely have a look at your sleep. Also, have a look at hydration. Have you drunk enough water? Because sometimes we can think that we are hungry when we are actually thirsty. And if you are craving wet, sweet foods in particular, like watermelon, yogurt, ice cream, then it's probably that you're thirsty and not actually hungry. We know that stress causes cravings as well, especially if you have a relationship with food, even before surgery. Perhaps it's a bit easier after surgery, but that can come back after time. Are you reaching for comfort foods because you are stressed? And if this is the case, that's when things like asking, am I hungry? So you're looking at the physical hunger, that can be really, really helpful to identify those triggers and to help you manage that comfort eating or eating for comfort. It could be a specific mood as well. So we're getting into the head hunger here. Stress, specific mood. Perhaps you used to associate, for example, eating TV or going to the movies with popcorn and choc tops. And so you feel like you know you're going to the movies. So in your mind, you're automatically associating that activity with that food. Same things such as, if you are suppressing thoughts, like if you have forbidden yourself to eat a food, then sometimes all you can do is think about that food and all you want to do is eat that food. So I always use this example of if you say to yourself, I can't eat chocolate, chocolate's a bad food, I'm not allowed chocolate, then you go and you have an apple instead. It doesn't really do it for you, and then you go, I still really feel like chocolate. I'll have a yogurt because that's healthy, and you kind of go, well, that didn't really hit the spot either. I still feel like yogurt. Oh, maybe I'll try something else that's healthy like nuts, and eventually you go, oh, bugger it, I'll just have the chocolate anyway. And you've eaten all of this food to get to the thing that you are actually wanting. So sometimes by saying that a food is forbidden, it can start that cycle off. Whereas if we don't have any forbidden foods, I can have it if I want it, but do I really feel like it? That can be much better in terms of managing those cravings and that drive for those specific foods that hold like a magic power over us that can help to dissipate that, because nothing is not allowed. You can have it if you want it, but do I really feel like it? Oh, actually, I'm not physically hungry. Or, oh, I can have some later if I still feel like it. That can really help from a psychological point of view. Social is the other thing. So sometimes the social context that we're in, again, it's like the movies association, that can really bring those cravings on. So what do we do about them? I would love to hear from you guys. Adele's here as well. Welcome, Adele. So I'd love to hear from you. What do you do to manage your cravings? If there's a food that you really, really want, what do you do? What works for you? Pop it in the comments section below and I'll bring that up in a second. I'm going to give you what I think can work. I've sort of already jumped onto that. I think I jumped ahead a little bit while I was explaining those reasons for cravings, but I'll definitely talk about the tips now too. So for starters, if you are skipping meals, if you are not drinking enough water, if you're not eating good quality meals, then that can definitely lead to hunger and cravings. So the first thing that I would say is have a look at your daily diet. Are you eating protein and veg at every meal? Are you getting your 3 meals in a day? Are there meals that you're skipping? Are there meals, are you drinking your 1.5 liters plus per day, depending on where you are and your size and your activity levels? Are you feeling tired? So are you getting enough sleep? So have a look at your day, all right? What is happening in the day? If you are eating less nutritious meals or infrequently you're going to feel hungry. So do make sure that you're looking at those daily habits. We're eating a good quality diet, we're eating regular, so 3 regular meals, we're having a snack in between if you feel like it, and that will definitely reduce the likelihood of you wanting a particular food later on in the day. So, getting enough sleep is really important as well, and making sure that you do some stress relieving activity during the day as well. If you are somebody that is prone to stress, then that's when you need to know what works for you in terms of stress management. Is it exercise? Is it phoning a friend? Is it going for, I don't know, jumping in the shower, getting your nails done, any of those sort of things? What works for you to manage stress on the daily basis? Um, and I would also try to figure out what your trigger is. So if it's general stress, is there a time of day when you're more likely to crave a food? Because then you can look at putting strategies in place, like making sure the meal before that time of day is good quality. Is it that you're eating when you are associating a mood, such as boredom, or tiredness, or when you're unhappy, or when you are happy? And if you can take your time, and this is where a food and mood diary might come in handy, to identify the triggers, then you will be able to look at troubleshooting around that time of day or that mood and come up with a plan. So, for example, sometimes it can be helpful to acknowledge what you are feeling, move forward, and identify that feeling, figure out what that trigger is, acknowledge that you're feeling that way, and then identify, perhaps off a list that you have at home, something that you can do instead of eating. And if you can do that long enough and time again, you're going to sort of disassociate food from that feeling of boredom, for example, and associate another activity like cleaning out your cupboards or going for a walk. All right. So you've got to find what works for you. That's why it's quite tricky to talk about. But I do have a list of 40 things to do when you're not hungry and you want to eat. So I'll post a link to that in the comments section. It's in the files section of the Facebook group. Okay. The other thing is try not to see. This is a tricky one to explain, but I was sort of talking about it before with the I can have it if I want it, but do I really feel like it? If you're somebody that is always black or white, on or off a diet, then it can definitely pay to start working with a psychologist or a counselor to look at that black and white thinking and see if there's a way that you can slowly start to break that down a little bit. So release yourself from that diet mentality and acknowledge. I like even just that key phrase, I can have it if I want it, but do I really feel like it? That has a lot of power. It holds a lot of power because it means that you have control over your food. You are not a bad or a good person if you eat a particular food, and that can stop you from spiraling into that diet cycle where you go, I'm not allowed it, I'm on a diet, and then if you break that diet, then you're a failure, and then you may as well, start again on Monday, and in the meantime, I may as well eat the rest of that, whatever it is, or it turns into a habit, and then you get to the next Monday and you haven't quite mustered up the courage, and you start again the next week. So just saying, I can have it if I feel like it, I can have it if I want it, but do I really feel like it, can have a lot of power to help you start to break that diet thinking and that diet mentality. So I hope that is helpful in terms of cravings. Do you have questions? Is there anything in there that you would like me to expand on that I didn't explain very well? Is there anything that you would like to tell me that you do? So is there something that works for you? Please pop it in the comment section below and I will get to it. So there's a few resources that I'm going to put up as we go through June. One of the things is that we are going to, I'll post a link to a hungry flow chart. So it helps you to identify whether or not you are hungry. There's an app for that if you would like it as well. So I'll post a link to the app. It's called Am I Hungry? It's not very tricky. There's also a food and mood diary that I have in the files section of the website. So if you find it helpful, if you know that you have an emotional link with food, if you have an emotional connection with food, if certain things trigger you, then that food and mood diary can be really helpful to identify those triggers and then to troubleshoot from there. I also will post a link to the 40 things to do before eating when you're instead of eating when you're not physically hungry. And what I'm going to publish for you, which is new, is, and you guys will get this next week on Friday, is the mindfulness checklist. So, what you should do before eating to make sure that you are reminding yourself of how to eat mindfully. And they'll just be super simple things so that you can have it on your phone, take a photo of it, do a screenshot, print it out, have it on the fridge, or wherever you're going to see it, and it just jogs your memory. Because I find if you practice that over time and you practice it often enough, it will become a habit. So I hope that is helpful for everybody. Now, the other thing that I wanted to also mention is Jenny mentioned a podcast, which is, where is it? There it is. A podcast by the psychologist. She's a weight loss surgery psychologist, Georgie Beams. She's from Melbourne. I've started listening to this as well, and that is really helpful. So I might post a link to that too. There are a couple of podcasts, and we have a file in the file section of the Facebook group. There's a couple of podcasts there that I find really helpful that are around like being mindful, but also around that relationship with food. So I'll definitely post that as well. But if there's anything else that you've found that is super helpful, then please feel free to post it to the group. If you notice anything during this month where we're focusing on being a bit more mindful, then please post it to the group. A amusing, maybe an observation, something that's changed for you when you are eating more mindfully. What do you actually notice? Maybe it's physically, mentally. Please share, because I think it's really helpful for everybody to hear those perspectives. It makes it much easier for people to kind of understand what you're going through, gives you a place to vent. And remember as well that you don't need to eat mindfully at every meal. It is one of those things that even if you can do, I used to say to my clients, even if you can just do it once a week and you notice something, that's great. If it's once a day, excellent. If it's every meal because you've practiced it that once a day, you can slowly start to build it up to every meal. That is the ideal. That is where we are getting to a place where we are free from that diet mentality. You're listening to your body and you're feeling a lot more sort of sense of freedom from food and it taking up a lot of space. You can often find space for other things, which was really good to hear. So I think that's about it from me. If anybody has questions, just post them down there and I can answer them in the comment section. During the focus challenge, I will also just jump on live and maybe share a little nugget of wisdom or encouragement, or share a story I've been emailed, for example, and hopefully that helps keep you all going too. So I hope you have had a lovely weekend and that you have a great week, and don't forget to eat dinner mindfully tonight. All right, thanks guys, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.